Hey guys, this is Al. We're back on the Brooklands today. As I mentioned in the last video, we had a code come up for the throttle position sensor. And the throttle position sensor on these cars has two prongs. It has a prong for the, I guess, for the engine management system, and another prong for the transmission, because this car uses the GM 480E transmission. And I'm guessing it has some kind of standalone controller that's independent of the engine management system, so it's not going through one signal. I looked up the part number. The part number on the on this throttle position sensor, I think, is 0280 122007. It's a Bosch part, but it seems like it's only unique to these Bentleys and Ferrari, I think at Mondial. So I looked for it on a Bentley, Rolls-Royce kind of websites, and they're selling them for about $300, $350 for the Bentley part, for the Rolls-Royce part. Ferrari, picked this up on eBay from a Ferrari specialist, $120. So saved a bunch of money doing it this way. And the part number for the Ferrari part is, let's see, oh, you know what, I'm not sure exactly. Oh, there you go. The part number is 155980. So if you're looking for a throttle position sensor for a cheap Bentley, buy the Ferrari part, because it's about a third the price. So right now, Vaughan is pulling the intake apart, because we have to do it. We have to take the intake off to actually get to the throttle position sensor. So I'll let him talk about this, and we'll switch the camera over.
All right. So there's two throttles on this engine, one for each bank, and they're both actuated mechanically by this linkage here. But this is where the sensor is. I guess this would be bank 2, I would assume.
Don't put your finger on it, so I can.
Right here.
Yeah.
So that bolt is very easy to access once you remove the ignition coil rail, but this lower one is quite hidden down there. So I'm hoping we can just remove this upper plenum and sneak it out with a small wrench or something. So that's my plan for that. And all these little plastic hoses, crankcase ventilation, vacuum, and these wastegate solenoids, some stuff was already broken, and a lot of stuff is just falling apart as we remove it, so yeah, we're going to have to go back in with some new hoses and hope that that takes care of all the broken pieces.
So really the only way to get to this throttle position sensor is to remove this thing.
It's looking like it. You can see this runner is kind of right in the path of this lower bolt, if you could picture where that is at the bottom, but I'm hoping with this out that we can snake a wrench down and just ease it out.
Okay.
So.
Okay. Well, that's it for now. Let's see how far along we get, and if we can get it all apart and switched over. We may be able to get some time for a test drive this evening. All right.
I really hope we don't have to pull these two intakes, because that looks like a real nightmare.
Okay. So just a quick update. So this is with the main intake off. You can see that accessibility to that throttle position sensor is a little bit better. We also noticed that the brake pumps are leaking, so we're going to try to get to those as well while we're in here. So that may or may not create problems. We're not sure yet, but that's where we are right now. All right. For the simple reason that we had a lot of vacuum lines. These vacuum solenoids over here, can you see this guy over here? These guys broke on us, right, just trying to disturb them. The reason why is because everything is just as hard as a rock from the heat. So these vacuum solenoids, there's two of them. There's one on either side of the engine. And when I was looking at them, they kind of looked like they were Saab solenoids, APC solenoids. If you remember the old original Saab 900s, the SPGs, they had this APC solenoid, which is exactly this thing. So I tried to look for the Saab part, and it was no longer available. Luckily, there's a Saab specialist here in Dallas that's still around, and he sold me one. Here it is, and you can see it's kind of like the same part, right here. Can you see that? So this piece is broken. This piece is, obviously not, which is why I had to replace it. He had one left over. They were no longer available, but he had one on the shelf, so he sold it to me. I put some feelers out, trying to find another alternative for one of these, and another guy I knew who had a Porsche 944 Turbo. Actually, he bought my old Porsche 944 Turbo, but he didn't buy it from me. He bought it from the guy I sold it to. But he let me know that there was a vacuum switch on the 944 Turbos, which looked exactly the same except for the electrical connectors. That are different, right? These ones have the round plug-style connectors, and these have like spade connectors. But in any case, this is available, and it's available brand new. It's available for about $100. So I ended up buying the used one for $50 and a brand new Porsche part for $100. But they work, right? So all I need to do is just do a quick modification on this, and it'll solve my problem. I got some extra hose to replace the broken hoses on the hard hoses on the vacuum lines. Some vacuum hose. This is actually 5/8 inch fuel hose, but it'll work well because it's nice and stiff. And we're going to start putting this thing back together. So stay tuned, and we'll be updating in a second. All right, guys. So we got the new solenoid valves put on. So this is the original sub valve, the used one that I bought. It's exactly the same as the Bentley one that came with the car, except it's a different color. Otherwise, it's exactly the same. This one is off a Porsche 944, and the connectors are a little bit different. So we had to remove the connector, the connector that goes over here, and just use spade connectors in this place. These are still available when new. So, the way we thought about it is that there's no point in trying to modify this this solenoid whenever we'd have to buy another one. It's probably going to be one of these, because we can't get this one anymore. We can't get these anymore. So that's a Porsche part number. It's right here. Zoom in. All right, so that's 951-606-11700. So for a 944 Turbo. Ferrari for part number. That's for the throttle position sensor. That's 155980. So we also had to replace these hoses. This is like super stiff, and these vacuum lines. So those all got replaced. What do you think between the Saab SPG, the Ferrari throttle position sensor, and Porsche 944 Turbo solenoid? 50, 60 horsepower? At least 60 horsepower, right? So that's what we think. We think we gained an extra 50, 60 horsepower from this. So so everything's back together. These are new hoses, these are new vacuum lines. Obviously all these now, these are all new vacuum lines, shouldn't really touch them. These are new vacuum lines, so car should start. It's still giving me that where I have to do a couple of cranks to get it going. But let's see if it starts. Seems to run okay. What we're going to do now is run it, let it warm up, and then we'll see if we can take it for a quick spin and see if it changes anything, whether the shifting starts shifting properly.
We also had a code related to those solenoids along with the transmission issue that was stored. Yeah, it was turbocharger control performance or solenoid
Oh,
performance.
yes, we did
Something
see
related
that.
to that,
We did see that.
which was from these barbs being broken
Yeah.
off.
You can see these bars were broken off, so it was obviously leaking vacuum.
And the hoses were so stiff like plastic, you could hardly tell that they were broken
Yeah.
because they just kept their shape. But if you'd pushed them, it would
Yeah.
move off the solenoid. So,
Yeah. So hopefully that'll solve its problem. It had wicked boosts, right? When we were,
which might not have been opening the wastegate.
yeah.
I'm not sure if these wastegates are held shut with vacuum, but it wasn't doing something right.
Yeah.
But we didn't drive it much, so.
No. So we didn't stay on it. But yeah, let's see what it does right now. So we're gonna move some cars around, obviously, and see if we can get it out on the street. Okay. Thank you. All right. So we took the car out for a spin, and it didn't make a world of difference. So there was no change. The only thing that we did notice is that the check engine light went off. So whatever was wrong with the throttle position sensor was cured. Guess there was a problem with that. We know that there was a problem with those valves because they were broken. They can't be broken. But the transmission still wasn't shifting. We tried the new transmission controller, it didn't work. Tried the old transmission controller, it didn't work. We checked the pins, and we could see that the transmission controller was getting power, but it's not working. So what we're going to do now, I'm not really that knowledgeable with wiring, so I'm going to give the wiring schematics to Vaughan, and Vaughan's going to take a look and see if there's anything that we can test, any of the other sensors that could cause this issue. What's concerning to me is my scanner is not reading the transmission controller, but it's not reading the transmission controller on that Arnage. It's not reading the transmission controller on that Continental. So I don't know whether that's a real test, but I'm not sure exactly what's going on. So we'll test what we need to test. Worst case scenario, we did one thing that was interesting. We unplugged the transmission controller completely. It didn't make a world of difference. So even with the transmission controller disconnected, the car behaved as if there was no transmission controller plugged in. So that kind of gives us a little bit of a hope in the sense that we may be able to get away with putting a standalone transmission controller in place and just bypassing this whole deal, right, and making it work. So we'll see what happens. We'll probably get a transmission controller from, what do you think?
We're going to need like a 2002 Silverado. No, I don't know.
We've got Saab, Porsche, what else? Ferrari and Silverado. There you go. Anyway, we'll keep working on it. I'll give you guys an update, but that's where we are right now. All right, thanks very much. Take care.